Welcome to All Stocks Index, a video series that breaks down the financial performance of every publicly traded company. In this video, we look at Palantir's financial results for Q3 of 2024. Palantir was founded on May 6, 2003, headquartered in Denver, Colorado. Current CEO Alex Karp. Number of employees 3,900. Market cap is $173 billion. Current stock price is $76. Palantir belongs to a technology sector in a software infrastructure industry. Palantir develops AI-driven software and specializes in big data analytics. Palantir builds and deploys several software platforms: AIP, Foundry, Gotham, and Apollo. Let's analyze Palantir's financial performance for Q3 by breaking down the 10Q report. Let's begin with the income statement. Sale of products and services produces revenue, and after paying off all expenses, the company is left with net profit. In Q3, 56% of Palantir's revenue came from government sector and 44% from the commercial sector. Palantir's quarterly revenue has been growing for the last 2 years at an average rate of 5%. In the last quarter, Palantir's revenue reached a record of $725 million. Cost of goods or services sold was 20%. Reported gross profit was over $579 million, of which 80% was spent on operating expenses. Specifically, selling and marketing was $209 million. Research and development was a $118 million expense. General and administrative were around $139 million. R&D expense has been the highest the company ever spent, but at the same time, the smallest percentage of the total revenue. Also, the last 2 years saw a steady decline of operating expenses. Operating income has been increasing. It reached the highest level in the last 2 quarters. Accounting for tax and other net expenses, we get a breakdown of all Palantir's expenditures. Thus, after subtracting all cost, we are left with a net profit of $143 million. Palantir's net profit turned positive in Q4 of 2022 and has been rising since reaching the highest level in the last quarter. Profit margin, which is a ratio of net profit to total revenue, was 19.8%. Profit margins have been increasing over the last 2 years, making Q2 and Q3 the most profitable. Earnings per share, a ratio of net profit to shares outstanding, was 6 cents in Q3. It was the highest earnings Palantir ever recorded since going public in 2020. Increasing revenue was the main driver behind the rising earnings, even though Palantir issued additional 20 million shares. PE is a ratio of company's share price to its earnings. It was a staggering 797 at the time of the reporting. Palantir's PE ratio appears excessively high, pointing to an unfavorable risk-to-return profile ahead. Turning our attention to the balance sheet, total assets equal total liabilities plus equity. Palantir holds a total of over $5.8 billion in assets. The largest portions is marketable securities at $3.8 billion and cash at $769 million. Total liabilities are significantly lower at $1.177 billion. A big chunk is customer deposits at $367 million. Let's examine Palantir's ability to pay its short-term debt obligations. First, the cash ratio. We take the most liquid assets and divide by current liabilities. In Q3 of 2024, this ratio was around 4.84. It appears that Palantir has almost 5 times more cash on hand than total current liabilities. Furthermore, current ratio of 5.67 indicates current assets exceed current liabilities more than 5-fold. This makes Palantir a safe investment. However, they may need to improve their financial efficiency. Checking the leverage ratio of total debt to total assets, we notice that Palantir has a very small percentage of debt relative to its assets, only 4%. Palantir can easily cover its credit obligations. Similarly, Palantir has been building up its equity at a faster rate than its debt, so its debt-to-equity ratio is only 6%. Return on assets turned positive in Q4 of 2022, but it remains pretty low at 2.5%. Similarly, return on equity is still low and has room to grow to attract more investors. Breaking down the cash flow from operating activities, net earnings attributed to the large portion of cash inflow in Q3. But it appears that stock-based compensation was a larger portion of cash movement in the same quarter. On the investing side, Palantir buys and sells billions of dollars in marketable securities. Due to these actions, their investing activity was negatively impacted by almost $1 billion. Financial activity mostly involved movement of common stock and stock options. So, does Palantir have cash? Strictly cash, Palantir has about $770 million. If we add investments, that amount goes up to $4.56 billion. Palantir has some debt, so subtracting it from cash and cash equivalent amount leaves the company with $4.26 billion in total cash. Investors and analysts typically look at the company's free cash flows, which is calculated by subtracting capital expenditures from operating cash flows. Palantir had a good history of positive free cash flow. In fact, the last quarter saw a significant spike of more than $400 million in free cash flow. What's more surprising is the unfathomable rise in Palantir's stock price just in the last 3 quarters of 2024. Such stupendous growth is difficult to tie to the company's fundamentals, and it is likely based on current euphoria surrounding AI stocks. That's all for now on Palantir. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. We plan to provide similar content for all publicly traded companies.